Hey Sean, I'm just going to take a minute to talk about some of the things that seem to be tripping you up. We're going to start with some kind of basic ideas and then dig a little deeper. Okay, so when you're programming, you've got to keep in mind kind of scope and what that means for your variables and all that kind of fun stuff. So if you're in Maya, actually let's just start here. So I'm just going to make a box. So this is more or less your program space, wherever it runs, right? So if you're running this within Maya, then this box is Maya. This is also generally considered global space. So anything that happens within this box, anything in your or in this within this space, anything in your program can access. There are obviously some variants in this, but basically, if you're running this in Maya, anything within the Maya global space your program can access. If you're running this kind of within the terminal, anything within the Python interpreter global space can be accessed the same kind of way. So you write your program, and the way you start by defining functions, right? So a function is going to be another little box. Just kind of rough out a little box. Define function 1. This function doesn't take anything, and let's go ahead and provide a return. So basically, you can think of this box like a little machine. You put stuff in, this stuff gets generated inside this these arguments. So let's actually provide an argument so we do have an input. And then they get output. So it's going to be a little poop chute so it can slide out the back, right? And what happens there is the return value goes out the back. Cool. So any function you have is just this little box. The rest of your program doesn't really know what happens inside this box, right? So it's obscured. You can't really see what's in there. You just know you put data in, get data out. If you're dealing within programs that do stuff to Maya, there is a little bit of a gray area where, like, if your function creates a locator, obviously the locator lives out here within Maya somewhere. Doesn't really come out the back, but that's kind of more of a specialty when it comes to working within Maya. But by just kind of the basics, function is a black box. You can't see what's going on inside. Put data in, gets data out. All right, so you have this function. Let's go ahead and just draw another box. Maybe a little bit prettier this time. Cool. So this one is called, actually let's just type, it'll be a lot faster. We have make selection, right? Takes no input. My selection equals mc.list selection equals true. Let's make this all a little bit smaller so it fits in the box. Bloop. Cool. All right, then it returns the 0 index of my selection. Cool. So that's what this box is doing. It takes no input, right? Because there's no arguments within the function definition, and then it returns the information from the 0 index of my selection 1. So basically, my selection 1 is a little tiny box. As we've discussed before, variables are boxes, right? You put information in the box. And then out of the back, that information gets dumped. So the reference to my selection, that's just my selection, let's just roll with it, doesn't exit the box, just the information. So just the contents of this box get dumped out of the back of the function. Bloop. So here you have whatever that value is. Now the trick is you have a print statement out here, right? That's saying print my selection 0. The problem is out here, oh, this doesn't mean anything. So you ran your function, it did the selection stuff, and it pooped out the value, but you didn't catch the value. The value just fell on the ground, and now it's garbage, right? As far as the Python garbage collection goes, as soon as this function does its thing, that value gets pooped out. It went nowhere, right? So then the garbage collection goes, well, this has no reference to it, clean it up, gone, dead. So now when you go to print, you go to print my selection 0. Well, my selection 0 is not defined in this space. It's defined within this function, within this box, but print can't see within that box. So you can't access it. So basically what you need to do is when you run, let's just do this real quick. So when you run your script, you need to make sure you have a little box to catch that return value in. So now this is going to go into your box, and you can call this whatever you want. My var, right? My variable. Then what you can do is just switch back to text so we don't have to deal with my handwriting. You can print my variable. So this box that holds the variable information now exists within global space. So we can call on that to print it. So hopefully that helps you understand return functions and kind of how all that works. Everything within these boxes is invisible to us. So like all of this stuff, you can't see this. All global space Maya knows is information goes in, information comes out. In the case of something like this where it doesn't take an input, Maya global space just says, hey you, do your thing. It does it, it poops it out. You have to catch it if you want to use it. Alright, so that's the first step, your print selection stuff. Now let's talk about what's going on here. So remember, your application lives in a box. This box is Maya global space. Up here, what we're doing is we're saying, from a different box, from the Maya box, give me the smaller commands box. So this is basically an organizational strategy, right? So there's a big box, or you can think of it like a shelf, or some sort of storage, large storage container. And then within that box, we have a smaller box, the Maya commands. So basically what you're saying is, give me the small box, CMDS, from the Maya storage unit, and put it in a box called MC. So now, within our space, we get a box called MC. We can't see what's in MC, right? MC is a mystery as far as what's going on in there. So now when we go to call the text field group, we're basically saying, hey MC, run your text field group method, and then we pass it arguments. So we have a non-keyword argument right here, which names the control. If I could spell, names the control. And then we have a keyword argument, which sets the label. So basically what you're saying is, you're saying, hey MC box, run the text field group method, and then inside the text field group method box, right? Because it's a function inside the text field, or inside the MC box. Pass the arguments. So this first one is known as a positional argument because it is not like, you're not saying like a certain flag equals a certain thing. You're just passing the information. But that first string, the Maya commands knows, is the name of that element, right? So you're passing that, and you're passing label equals name of prefix. So then basically what you get is this box gets a tinier box. It's not going to actually be tinier here because, you know, we got to write in it. And then you pass in the name. And the label equals stuff, right? So both those things get put in this box. And then what comes out of the back of the box is a reference for the control, or the widget, or the element. You know, you can kind of call it whatever you will. Now what happens inside this box, we don't know. Remember, we can't see here. And in this case, you definitely don't know because you don't have access to the code. All you know is you pass this information in, and it poops out a reference. Now, there's a couple of things that we have going on here. One, we can access this control through the reference, or we can access it through the name. You know, you don't really have to name it if you're catching the reference. You don't really have to catch the reference if you name it. That being said, I would tend to favor passing or catching the reference, because if you were to make a lot of these, you can't name them all the same thing. So like the reference is going to be a unique identifier no matter what is going on. So if you were all like, you know, ran this through a loop and made 10 text field groups, you can't, you know, you'd have to iterate the name for every one. There's really no point. This is just an internal thing for you to work with. So you can just catch the reference and call it a day. So if you want to work with this, you can basically say, hey MC box, run the, I'm just going to do this with text. Run the text field group method. And then pass your arguments. So here you could either pass that name, the name that we gave it, or you can pass it the reference. Either way, the text field group will know where or what element you're looking for. Basically it'll search your scene and find this. Where this becomes a problem is if you notice when you print your reference, it actually has the long path to your element. But if you were just to use the name, if you have two elements named the same thing, but they're in different spots, so like this could be like window, that's a pipe, window, tab 1, locator name, window, tab 2, locator name. Technically those names don't conflict because they are in different areas, but if you just call it by the control name, it won't know which one you want, right? So that's another reason why I prefer this, capturing the reference instead. The reference is going to be unique, kind of no matter what's going on with the control, right? So you can pass that in here. So we're just going to call this ID. It's the identifier, which element you want to deal with, and then comma. And now you're going to start passing in your keyword variables. So query equals true. Let's get rid of that. Query equals true, and then whatever value you're looking for. So, maybe that's the text. Cool. So then all of this information gets passed into the box. The box does its thing. We have no idea what it does. It just does its thing. And then it's going to poop out to the box. It does its thing. It's going to poop out, in this case, that text value, right? But if you don't catch that within your own little box, you can't access it. It's just going to poop it out. Python's going to clean it up and throw it away. So you got to catch it in your box value. Then you can do things like print value, right? And that's going to allow you to print whatever that value is. But you just got to keep in mind, these are all different scopes. So whatever's in the text field group can't see what is in Maya commands unless Maya commands gives it that stuff. That's through these arguments. Now whatever's in Maya commands can't see text field group stuff unless it's been returned to it. It's important to keep in mind that these ideas are really kind of around functional programming, which is kind of what you've been doing so far. If you start getting into object-oriented programming, these rules do change a little bit. The same basic premise is here, but it is a little bit different. All right, I'm going to go ahead and run this out and see what happens.